So, tell me something terrible. All right, I'm going to have my hands in my lap this whole podcast.
Okay, don't bump the table.
No.
Are you ready to actually get started?
Sure.
Okay. Hi, I'm Tiffany.
Hi, I'm Scott.
And you're listening to Tell Me Something Terrible.
Yeah, you are. Where the banter is bad and so is the posture.
I've tried to get better with mine.
Yeah. If I put my arms on the table, you will all hear it, or I will have to edit it out. Either way, it's not good.
You're just going to sit there like a little prepubescent boy with your hands in your lap?
Yeah, I'm going to try until we start talking, and then my hands will start
wilding out?
Yeah, flailing a boot. No surprises tonight.
No surprises?
Like we know.
No. I was going to say, no, there's surprises. I've warned you all, yeah.
Yeah, you were bracing yourself like I was about to surprise you. You were like, what? I hate surprises.
Yeah. What do you mean surprises?
No, I meant
we're already married. What other surprises can there be?
The topic is well established.
Yes.
If you don't remember from part one.
I wrote a quick recap.
Oh, okay, good. Because I was hoping you weren't going to have me, and I was going to be like,
some dude.
Dad married his daughter, and one of the sons is more messed up than the rest of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or more vocal about his messed upness than the rest of them.
Yep.
Okay.
So, quick recap. Eddie Sexton was a twisted preacher con artist who married his own daughters, was a POS rapist, who also had incestuous children with those daughters, and then this lovely, simple man named Joel walked into Eddie's oldest daughter's life. Remember her name?
His oldest daughter? Oh, it's not. The first thing that came to mind was Peanut. Okay, yeah. Pixie. Yep.
Close. They're about the same. But her birth name is the same as her mother's, which Peanut? Is weird. Yeah, and she's the first one. Yes.
I like how you didn't even. You're like, yep.
Yep, that one. My brain was like, yes, fill in the blank before you even said it. Anyway, he married.
You're always Russian to fill in your blank.
How's what?
Nothing. Keep going.
Okay. So.
Peanut.
Joel walked into Pixie's life.
Yep.
They fell in love.
Yes.
He fell in love with her. She never fell, actually. I don't think I ever really mentioned that or get
that she's still in love with her dad?
Yeah, she's in love with her dad. That. Okay, yeah. And then she married Joel, but she's still in love with
her dad.
Her dad.
Yep.
Yeah. So he wound up actually marrying Joel and Pixie to one another himself. Pixie had a third child because she had her first two.
Come here.
What's up? What's stuck on me? Do you got it?
Yeah, you have a red fuzzy on your shirt.
How did I get a red fuzzy?
I don't know. Anyway, I had to get it.
You can tell we have an 8-year-old child, and this is also the room she crafts in. So there's just the beads are all pushed to the other side. You can't see them.
We've been attempting to be more active on TikTok, and I didn't want there to be this giant red fuzzy on your shirt on TikTok. I was looking out for you.
Full distraction. Thank you.
That's what I'm here for.
Because my wet hair and like no makeup, but the red fuzzy, it's gotta go.
Okay, it was gonna distract me. Let's just full disclosure.
So anyway.
Yep, back to Pixie.
Pixie has her third child, Skipper, because she was blessed with two previous bundles of joy.
And I do remember Skipper.
Yep. And in the
Love Boat or whatever we referenced.
So in the meantime, another daughter, Michelle, spelled with an M-A, threw Eddie fully under the child rapist bus. So the younger kids were taken away. Eddie was banned from the house. Michelle recanted out of fear of her father because he just...
That's right. And he was released on bond.
Yes.
And that's where you left us. Cliffhangered it.
Yes. So he made his way, to have a standoff with the cops, and then, he was arrested and then released on bond. Yep. So.
I do remember that part.
Yes. Yeah. Because it was like, why? Like,
we introduced ourselves, right?
Yes.
Cool.
I think so.
Okay, good.
How much caffeine have you had?
Enough. What's the legal limit? Just kidding.
I'm pretty sure those cans come with a warning.
Every different brand says only have 2 a day. So as long as you mix up the brands,
FDA thing.
As long as you mix up the brands, you can have like 14 a day.
I don't think that's what they mean.
No, it just says only have 2 Monsters a day, only have 2 Reigns a day, only have 2 Celsius a day. You can have like 4 of each. Or 4 different, two of like 4 different.
8 of them. That sounds healthy.
Once you get to grams, that's the problem. As long as you're less than 1,000 milligrams, you're fine.
You won't be.
What? I'm fine.
Okay. There's like 700 grams of milligrams of caffeine in it, doesn't it?
There's 140 in that. Calm down. Pump your brakes.
Oh, I suppose that's not.
Don't
trust. I feel like you're being very facetious, And I worry that people will take this as serious medical advice and be like, well, he's got a bachelor's in biochemistry. He knows a little bit how the body works, and he's saying 1,000 milligrams of caffeine is fine.
Oh, sorry. This one has 200 milligrams per serving.
Just don't listen to what he's saying. He's
as long
weird.
as you don't have heart murmurs, just, drink water.
Yeah, but you don't know if you don't have heart murmurs.
I'm sure.
Until it's too late.
Well, you just go on with your story.
I'm concerned about our listeners now, thinking that you're giving good advice.
You had two options tonight. Either I drink caffeine and we record, or I didn't and we don't. So here we are.
All right. Huzzah. We're just having little fights.
That's what you get on the Friday night recording sessions. Just caffeinated me.
It's been a long week already.
Yes.
So, naturally, Eddie's paranoia is really peaking at this point. He shows back up at the Sexton's house, raving about the FBI and the upcoming war, that no one's going to keep him away from his family.
Okay.
So Eddie and May packed up the remaining children, because I think they were left with 3, of the teenage boys.
By children, you mean spouses? And
no, they were the boys.
Okay, and the boys. All right.
And then all 3, no, because Michelle had gone to a halfway house and Pixie had moved out at that point.
Okay, and she stayed there even when she recanted everything?
Absolutely. She was like, I am not going back home.
Then why recant it? I mean, I know. It's like a...
Just so that he wouldn't go to court.
Yeah.
And she went to go stay at, remember, like a fellow lady's house who...
Church person?
Yes. So anyway, Eddie packed up the remaining children, all their weapons, and loaded up a 1972 motorhome and went on the lam.
Okay. Very Walking Dead vibe.
Yeah, a little bit. Yes.
Look at that. I came up with that pop culture reference with less than 30 seconds.
I am so proud.
Normally it's 4 minutes of with that one actor and the guy on the motorcycle. Anyway.
And the kid got shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spoilers. Just kidding. It's like a 10-year-old show.
A kid got shot. Yeah. Wow.
So he went against direct police orders. Eddie left the state of Ohio and bounced from Ohio to Oklahoma, borrowing a car from his brother-in-law and eventually finding their way down.
Those two don't connect, by the way. Just Ohio and Oklahoma.
No, they bounced around. Yeah, they were headed down to Florida. Okay. So they eventually found their way down to Hillsborough River State Park in Florida, near where Eddie's brother lived. So they parked the RV and proceeded to overstay their welcome. Soon after settling in...
Sorry, the RV, Cousin Eddie. It's just all of it.
All of it.
Yeah.
No, this is Brother Eddie.
Yeah, I know, but still, like, he's somebody's cousin.
Yeah,
anyway, keep going.
It's a disaster.
Yeah.
In the early 90s, so you can just imagine the, like, plaid sweaters and big barrel bangs.
Barrel bangs.
Yeah.
Is that what they call that? The front
pop
curly?
barrel? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like pop can bangs? Yeah.
Yeah, like the TV mom bangs.
My mom had those bangs.
There's a lady at work that still has those bangs.
I used to have those bangs with a center part. I was the embodiment of the 80s and 90s.
Nice.
Yeah. You still work with a lady who has those bangs?
Yeah. She looks like an 80s sitcom mom.
No.
She dresses like it.
Do I know this one? Have I met her?
I don't think you've met her.
Was she at the Christmas party?
Maybe. Which one?
The last one.
Maybe. I don't know. I'll find a picture.
Where the HR lady did the Lord's Prayer for Dale's.
Oh yeah, she definitely was there.
Oh yeah, that Christmas party.
Yeah,
where everybody was just looking around awkwardly, like, oh, "Do we stop this? What's going on?"
I don't think she's on the social media, but anyway, you proceed.
Oh, you're gonna see if you can try to find her.
If I can even figure out what her name is. Anyway, you go ahead.
You've been there so long. You're that good. You're that too good for everybody that you don't even know her name.
Yep.
Well, you can't say it out loud. We don't know this person.
Right.
So anyway, I can't wait to see your bangs. So they're down. Brother Eddie is parked his RV and proceeded to overstay their welcome because there's a limit on how long you're allowed to stay in state parks to camp. So soon after settling in, Joel, Pixie, and her 3 children went back to stay at the Florida campground, and this is where Pixie restarted. She rekindled her romance with her father.
Oh.
So Joel didn't know that they were hooking up in the, campground maintenance house, whatever, someplace.
Yeah.
And they
that's creepy on
like
every level.
Yeah, because she was still in love with her father. Yeah. And there's speculation as to exactly why she married Joel. Like, Eddie's motive was definitely to get Joel to take a fall for, be the explanation for all the children to hide the incest thing.
Yeah.
But we don't really know how much Pixie was involved in that whole scheme.
Yeah, I'm sure it was somewhat mutual.
So in total, because her other daughters weren't like that with him. Not all of them were like traumatized, and she was like almost like oh God, what's the thing? Yep. Stockholm syndrome. Yeah, but with your own parent.
Yeah, it's
anyway.
She needs therapy.
Yeah, I'm rambling.
No, you're fine.
So, in total, there were 11 people staying in the RV, and now this is where some of my research starts.
11 people. Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, that's just a lot.
Yep.
In
11, a tiny RV.
I was gonna say 11 people in our house would be a lot.
Yeah.
All right, keep going.
Yes. So now this is where some of my research started to fall apart, and there was like a lot of inconsistency in reports and news articles.
Yeah.
So at some point, the family made their way, because there's a lot of, they can't get the straight truth from all the kids testifying, so it's really hard to put an exact timeline together.
Yeah.
So at some point, the family made their way to a new campground called Little Manatee Campground, and this is where they also overstayed their limit occupancy like a second time.
Yeah.
It's only supposed to be a few weeks.
Oh, and they like wanted to permanently,
Yeah, so some articles say it was like before, some say it was after, some only like mention the Hillsborough campground, most only mention the Manatee campground. I'm pretty sure that the Manatee campground is where everything that I'm about to tell you happens.
I'm going to guess it's not prosperous. Okay.
Yep. So he didn't...
Trigger warnings be heeded?
Yeah, yes. And then you thought the last part was bad, this one's worse.
Terrific.
Yep. So Eddie didn't want to draw attention to the group, so everybody had to lay low.
Okay.
So we're going to jump ahead to the stay at the Manatee campground. Now, the Sextons had been staying at these campgrounds for a combined 5 years.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Like he just goes back and forth between the two?
No, he's like combined. Like they stayed at the first one or the second one. They were on the run for 5 years.
Okay, that's a lot longer than I thought you were going to say.
Mm-hmm. So
11 people in a camper for 5 years?
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh. So all the while, Eddie was forcing his teenage sons to engage in paramilitary drills. So he was like...
boot camping it?
Yes.
Okay.
And then he would also feed them copious amount of alcohol. They were allowed to just drink whatever they wanted, even though they're like 16, 17, 18
Well, they
years
started
old.
that old, then they become early 20s by the time this is all over with.
Yeah. So attempting to he also attempted to garner friendship from a neighboring camper named Ray Hessler. So Ray had a larger, much nicer RV and a truck.
Okay.
So to keep their stays at the campsites and their new glamorous lifestyle funded, Eddie would return to Ohio every 2 weeks to collect his disability checks.
Okay, that's a lot of driving.
How else are you going to get your checks? They're sent to your home. They don't want you to know where you're at.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So he's driving back home and collecting his mail, and I don't know why no one hasn't noticed.
Yeah, or like a cop didn't just wait.
Yeah. Like if every 2 weeks you know that he's showing up on like a Friday to get his shit, like surveil the house.
Yeah.
A lot of it though is that they didn't have a lot of information on the abuse and the charges they were trying to press.
Yep. It wasn't like he's like a FBI most wanted at this point.
Yeah, he's just some dude who's abusing his kids at this point.
Yes.
That's it. He's just a kidnapper. They're not putting all of their priorities into this piece of shit.
Yeah. I think once you cross state lines, it gets messier, I'm sure.
Yes, you got to get the FBI involved.
Yeah.
So Eddie did manage to stay in touch with other family who would regularly make phone calls to... Eventually, Eddie made a phone call to the aforementioned brother-in-law in Indiana and charged the collect call to his old Ohio phone number. So Eddie's brother-in-law also reported his car being stolen because Eddie hadn't been paying any payments on the car like he said he would.
Okay.
So he gave the information to the cops. Mm-hmm. They found this phone number. It got ran and traced back to a payphone near the park. And so
in Florida?
Yes, the Ohio FBI got a hold of the Florida FBI and was like, "Hey, do you know anything about this payphone and these people?"
Yeah.
And so eventually they were found.
Mm-hmm.
The goal was to surveil the family and wait until Eddie and May were out separate from the rest of the family to be arrested on the charge of, quote, unlawful flight to avoid prosecution. So on January 14th, 1994, Eddie and Estella May were arrested when they left the campsite to get basic provisions. The rest of the family was also brought in for questioning, and this is where shit really hits the fan.
Okay.
So during questioning, detectives...
Everyone's still alive so far. We're doing okay.
Yes.
All right.
Well,
We're just holding on. Nope, don't ruin it. Keep reading. Keep reading. We're holding on to the hope, the fact that I think everyone's still alive. Keep going.
In this exact moment of time in the date of his arrest?
At
or
January,
in the story?
At this point in the story, it feels like everyone's potentially still alive. Okay.
Am I making it sound that positive? I thought I really let you in on all these triggers.
I was just, I'm just ignorance is bliss up to this point. Yes.
And now I'm going to wreck your shit.
Okay, that's fine.
So during questioning, detectives at first received a lot of misinformation and convoluted timelines and contrary stories.
Okay.
No one wanted to tell the truth, and no one felt safe enough to tell the detectives that what had been going on in the Sexton household.
My guess, the first person you're going to say is dead is going to be the non-Sexton, Joel. Anyway, that's just my...
He's not the first one.
Okay. Don't foreshadow like that. Just keep going. I was just trying to, not like place a bet like I'm gambling here. I'm just trying to,
Yeah, you're trying to
figure out this timeline ahead of time.
No.
I can't make jokes. I'm just playing guessing games now.
Well, and you're also trying to be like, I need to be mentally prepared for what I think is going to happen. So I just am trying to get you to hint at it.
No, we're good.
Trying to become calloused to the person that you have to be concerned about dying first.
The presents are under the tree. I'm just trying to figure out what the boxes are for.
Yeah, let's shake it a little bit.
No, don't shake.
No, because Charlie broke, and he was finally like out of his father's grasp. He was like, I'm telling.
Yep.
Initially, Eddie was being charged with kidnapping, child abuse, and unlawful flight, and then conspiracy to murder was added to that list after detectives found out about Eddie's brilliant plan to murder their camping neighbor, Ray.
Oh, to steal all his shit?
Yes. So Ray had managed, though, to shake off the Sextons by lying about his traveling plans and just being like, deuces.
And just driving away.
Yes. Yes. He literally was like, hey, I'm going to Nebraska, and peaced out to New Mexico. Like...
Common slip of the tongue.
Yeah. Both start with N's.
Yeah.
He
could smell the crazy from across the campground.
Yes. He was like, bye. And then the plan was, once he had murdered Ray, was to be disposed of his body in the Little Manatee River State Park in a river. And then Eddie was going to steal the camper and truck and then assume Ray's identity so that they could continue to stay on the run from the FBI. Mm-hmm. And then Charles and Willie told detectives about the actual murders.
Murders. Okay.
Murders.
All right.
Yes. So just a couple months before Eddie's arrest in October 1993, 9-month-old baby Skipper had gotten sick.
Okay, that's him and his daughter's youngest, third child.
Joel's and Pixie's.
Oh, okay. Oh, that one was actually Joel's. Okay.
They told Joel that was actually Joel's.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So he'd gotten really sick. Mm-hmm. Eddie refused to allow Pixie and Joel to take the baby to any type of clinic or hospital to get him medicine.
Okay.
So on a particularly difficult night, Skipper would not stop crying, and Eddie told Pixie that she needed to get the baby quieted before he came over and did it himself. And so while lying in bed next to a peacefully sleeping Joel, Pixie covered Skipper's mouth in an attempt at quieting him, and then she slowly closed the baby's nose and held her hand there until Skipper was finally quiet.
So it's Pixie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I didn't expect that.
Mm-mm.
All right.
Because she knew, and she was so afraid of her father and had gone through all that trauma and knew how the fuck he would react. She knew that if she didn't do it peacefully, he was going to
do it violently.
Yes. Yeah. And so, and they say that like trauma, people that endure trauma their entire lives are more likely to murder their children. Like I think I remember reading somewhere it was like 4 times more likely to kill their own kids.
Huh. And granted, both those percentages are low, but still 4 times more is 4 times more.
Yeah. And And so honestly, it almost feels like a mercy killing. Like you shouldn't have put your child in that situation and none of it is justifiable, but I could see from a traumatic crime, like the alternative would be worse. Because your dad's that much of a piece of shit.
Yeah. If you already kind of know how
it all... that brainwashed.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, she's... Yeah.
To think that there was no other option. Fucking get your shoes on and walk away.
Yeah.
Just walking off into the wilderness would be better than what you just fucking did.
Right.
Anyway, my eyes got really big. This is, I think, why you're like, what's wrong? Why are you depressed? I don't know. I've just been in a funk.
Been in a funk doing research About terrible, terrible humans.
Yeah. So in the and then she laid Skipper between her and Joel in the bed.
Okay, just for theatrics, like
we'll get to it.
Okay.
So in the morning, not theatrics. There was
not
a point.
Theatrics, but it's like very like what you'd see in a movie is what I meant by that.
Yes,
Like,
no, it really is because now it's oops, an accident.
Oh, like accidentally smothered in the night kind of thing.
SIDS.
Oh,
yeah, yep. So Joel in the morning woke to find Skipper in his bed, and he obviously became distraught immediately, which woke Pixie, who then started scream crying, which then brought over Charlie to investigate, who had witnessed his father's threat the night before. So he heard his dad tell Pixie, like, you need to do this. I don't know if he watched her do it. I think he knew the context as well.
Yeah, connected the dots.
Yeah, he's not an idiot.
Yeah.
So then that brought over Eddie to investigate, who just deadpan simply said, it must have been SIDS.
Okay.
Yes.
Just
because at 9 months old, that's when SIDS happens.
Yeah. Yeah, when they can almost like sit up on their own and whatnot. Yeah. And well, they can. They're almost walking at that point.
Well, now we know that SIDS are just some weird enzyme fluke.
I'm also going to guess that these kids have some birth defects.
We'll get to it.
Okay. Just guessing. But.
So Joel immediately wanted to take Skipper to any medical professional, to the police, to get some sort of help or explanation.
Yeah.
He always wanted to take, and he also wanted to take the baby back to Ohio for a proper funeral. Pixie went as far as taking Joel to the local public library to gather more information about SIDS in an attempt to quell like Joel's need for closure and explanation. So the librarian, a woman named Gail Novak, helped Joel find information regarding SIDS. Gail remembers Eddie arriving at the library, visibly pissed that Joel and Pixie were there without his permission. Gail remembers seeing Eddie assault both Pixie and Joel.
Okay.
Yep.
In a library?
In a public library.
That's not going to raise any flags.
No, not at all. And then she later overheard a conversation between Pixie and Eddie where Eddie told Pixie that the only way Joel was going to return to Ohio was as a corpse.
Okay, good. More threats?
Yeah, it's classic.
Yep.
Eddie over here, he loves a good threat.
He does.
So when Gail reported this altercation to campus police, it was dismissed as a prank.
What?
It was the 90s.
A prank between two strangers that this lady's never seen before and a grown-ass man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Normally pranks are like done by like college
and they
students.
usually don't like leave people's noses bloody,
No,
or like maybe a black
not.
eye, like usually this little jump
Most
scares.
pranks don't start with SIDS research either. Like that's a weird way to start a prank.
Yeah, like why would those people be the one you'd want to prank?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. That's hard to believe, but whatever.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Look at how much shit gets brushed off as like dumb It's honestly not that surprising. Like them coming to the conclusion that it's a prank is surprising, but like in the 90s,
it's Punk's fault.
Punk's fault? No, this is pre-Pulse. This was the inspiration for Punked.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, cops like that in the 90s were like stupid. They were always like, "Oh, you mean you haven't heard your straight A student who has absolutely no problems and has a lovely life ran away, and we haven't heard from her from 3 days?"
She'll come back.
Yeah, she'll come back. And then they're like, "Oh, we found her in a ditch a month later." What?
Yeah.
How? It was the 90s.
Yeah.
Everything was fucked.
Mm-hmm. Might as well have been the 1890s.
Yes. So Eddie obviously didn't want any person outside of his weird little family cult knowing what happened to Skipper.
Okay.
So after Skipper was found, he ordered Pixie to dress the baby and place him in a duffel bag, which she did, even going as far as placing a passy in his mouth and a rattle in his hand.
That's terrible.
Oh, it gets better.
Does it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Eddie then ordered Willie, his oldest son, and Joel to bury Skipper in the Florida peat near their campsite. Mm-hmm. Pixie placed a rose preserved in a plastic tube on the bag before it was covered with just a couple inches of dirt.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes.
So like a wild animal's going to come dig it up?
No, surprisingly. Because this is actually really soon after. Like, this happened in October and Eddie was arrested in January.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And
so a dog was able to find it and like...
No, nothing found it.
Oh, wow.
Nothing found them. Yeah. because they were perfectly preserved. That was like a great break in the case because the peat does a really good job preserving bodies.
Okay.
So,
they found it eventually.
Body. They were told. We'll get to it.
Okay.
We're gonna get to it.
Keep going. I thought you were telling me now.
No.
All right.
Because the baby is the first murder.
Yes.
Okay. So Eddie decided that he would simply
run, Joel.
Yeah.
Run.
No, it gets better. In an attempt to try to calm Joel, Eddie decided that he would just simply replace Skipper with a new baby.
Okay.
This is why I haven't gotten to the second murder yet.
Okay.
So Eddie loaded up Charles and Willie and headed back to Ohio, where one of Eddie's older sons, Eddie Jr., had made it out of the house and started his own family.
All right.
So out of Eddie's grasp, they pulled up the other two, Willie and Charles and Eddie. They pulled up in the middle of the night, unbeknownst to the son. Eddie handed Charles a gun, telling him to go knock on the house's door. And when Eddie Jr. opened the door, Charles was to shoot his brother and steal Eddie Jr.'s baby and take them back to Florida to replace Skipper.
Okay. Okay.
That's going to make Joel happy.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
His logic is... I'm not... Flawed is an understatement.
Yeah. Yes.
His logic is just fucked.
Yes.
So you're going to murder your son, steal your grandson, and replace that with another one of your grandchildren.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, I get that. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Makes sense, right?
1 + B = 3.
Yep.
Perfect. It's algebra. Anyway.
Gealgebra?
Yep. It's one of those things. Sorry, it's just... it's.
You took calculus.
Yeah, calculus won't even make sense of this. This is chaos.
Yeah. So... fortunately, Eddie Jr. never opened the door, so no one answered.
Good call, Eddie.
Yeah, no one answered the knocks. Defeated, Eddie drove back to Florida empty-handed. So this is when Pixie finally dropped the bombshell on Joel that Skipper was not his son. That Skipper was Eddie's son.
Pixie told Joel?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
how did Joel... I'm sure Joel took that well.
Now the entire family was tasked with ensuring that Joel did not turn to the police.
Okay, yeah. You think that would be like step one at that point?
Yeah.
Okay.
You sound panicky about this entire situation.
I'm processing and I'm highly caffeinated, all right? There's a lot going on over here.
So, one day, sometime between...
I just feel for Joel almost out of all,
Yes.
Just
Joel's just a dude who fell in love with a girl.
Yeah, he's whatever.
They interviewed his aunt and stuff, and they're like, he was not the smartest crayon in the box, but he was so loving and so sweet, and he just didn't deserve any of it. And he made those children his world when he married. He did not care.
He reminds me of a lot of the quote unquote innocent church dudes I grew up with.
Yes, that's exactly it.
Yeah, and he just he became collateral damage in this whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, and just and right before the end too, just having your entire world just shattered.
Yeah.
Because at that point, he didn't know just how bad Eddie was, because Pixie was in love with him.
Idea.
But not this bad. Not oh my God, he's actually going to, it's going to escalate to murder bad.
Yes.
Well, no, I mean, he didn't realize until he'd gone on this chaotic RV trip with them just how bad he was.
Yeah.
So, sometime between Thanksgiving and Christmas, because getting a good timeline from the children, like I said, was difficult.
Yep.
Half the family left their campsite, while the oldest kids, Charles, Willie, Pixie, and Joel, stayed behind with Eddie. Eddie had instructed Willie. Now, remember, Willie is Joel's friend. When Pixie and Joel first started dating, all three of them would chum out and watch movies and stuff on the couch.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're friends. He was ordered to take Joel for a walk. Joel, trusting his friend, reluctantly did so. Eddie followed at a distance, and Charles, being nosy, did the same. After being trained for 2 days by Eddie, who used Willie himself to demonstrate the technique on how to kill a man.
Uh-huh.
So as he's being you have to go kill him, I'm going to teach you how to kill a man on you. He was using him as the dummy. He was, yeah.
Well, apparently Eddie's not very good, otherwise he'd be dead. So...
Oh, I'm no, he was just using it as an example. But yeah, no, that's funny. That was bad.
That went right over your head.
It did. I was looking at you like trying to be all analytical. Yeah. I was like, what? What do you mean? Oh.
Yes.
I can put 2 to 2. Mm-hmm. I can put 1 and 3 together and get B.
See? That's not what the equation was, but that's fine.
So Willie was tasked with strangling Joel with a homemade garrote of a rope and sticks to stop Joel from going back to Ohio.
Oh, like the 2 sticks with the rope and then, yeah.
Yes.
Piano wire-esque.
Yes, pretty much. So if you need one, there's some in some totes in the Green Barn from when I was...
Clay?
Yes. When I took
quote-unquote...
ceramics.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So along the trail, Willie, with Eddie close by behind, wielding a gun that he would eventually put up against Willie's head, Willie slipped the garrote around Joel's neck and pulled tight. When Joel finally fell to the ground, the gravity of murdering his friend finally sunk in, so Willie immediately tried performing CPR to bring Joel back because he wasn't fully gone.
Okay.
But Eddie, with that loaded gun to the back of Willie's head, told Willie that he needed to finish the job.
Okay.
So Joel's body was buried in the same Florida swamp, not too far from Skipper.
I'm sure Eddie is now adding motivational speaker to his resume of con artist, accolades.
Yes. Con artist, preacher,
motivational
speaker.
Yep.
So in order to avoid any criminal charges, Charles, who witnessed it all, agreed to show the detectives where the bodies of Skipper and Joel were buried. So they didn't find them. Remember, Charles was like, I can't.
Yep.
Please. Like, this is what happened.
They eventually flipped.
Yep. So unbeknownst to Eddie, the Florida Pete managed to preserve their bodies perfectly, so autopsies were easy. I mean, not easy, but...
viable?
Yes.
Thanks, Pete.
What a good man, Pete.
What a good moss. The moss man. Anyway, sorry.
Oh my gosh, a new cryptid. It's a Florida cryptid.
It's just like... Oh, and it looks
He's the spawn of the Florida man.
It looks like the trolls from Frozen.
Yes.
The little rock people with the moss on them.
So Eddie was no longer being charged with conspiracy to murder, evading police, and child abuse, but he now, along with Pixie, May, and Willie, would be charged with murder.
Okay.
So Pixie will later insist that she murdered her baby at her father's behest, but eventually she would be found guilty and charged with first-degree murder, which was then reduced for manslaughter because she testified against Eddie.
Okay.
And she wound up spending 6 years in prison.
Oh, wow.
Not much.
No.
But
let's be honest, she's pretty much spent like 20-some years in
essentially I'm sure this also required a lot of psych care afterwards.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So Willie was required to go to a mental health facility in the 90s, which would be awful.
Yep. I'm sure it was very well organized.
Yeah. And everyone was treated, and there was therapy.
Yes, they were treated as humans.
Yeah, there was
no experimental drugs.
No, they weren't injecting people with insulin and doing shock therapy.
I mean, maybe
still
not.
In the 90s. No, in the 90s they still were. They were at least giving them
drugs that were going to make them numb or lose their mind.
Yeah, I should go over how bad the conditions were in the 1990s in psych hospitals because they were fucking atrocious still. I don't think people think of the 1950s being really horrible. No, it was horrible all the way up until the 90s.
The 90s were 30-some years ago.
Yeah, but it should be 130 years ago, and it's only 30.
I just had to say it 30 years ago.
Just stop it. I just can't.
It's all right. We all know Todd listening's the oldest. It really hits him harder.
Yeah, it does. So anyway, so Willie was required to go to a mental health facility because he was deemed unfit to stand trial due to his borderline mentally, and they use the word handicapped, IQ, illiteracy, and serious psychiatric problems.
Oh, he had to be completely broken at that point.
Yeah. And he's not, I don't want to say he's not smart. He just...
Okay, he was never properly educated.
No.
He was just...
Yeah, you can only be as smart as your surroundings. It's almost like that's why public school is really important, guys.
Well, and then he was beaten down and broken and brainwashed for decades.
I'm sure there's brain damage.
Oh, yeah.
Horrible brain damage. Mm-hmm. Just from the night in the closet with the raid. That was him and Willie.
Yeah, and how much did his dad show him how to strangle someone? Did he do it until he passed out? And then when he woke up, he's like, that's how you do it.
Yeah, that's a really good point, too. And how many times he could have just strangled them because he was beating them.
Yeah. I'm sure he... Yeah. Never really stood a chance.
No, it's very sad. So Charles wound up okay. So once Willie was stabilized, he was able to testify against his father and stand for his own trial, and eventually he pled guilty to second-degree murder and was sentenced to 25 years in prison. So now he lives a very quiet, in the shadows. Nobody really knows what's going on with him, like withdrawn life.
Oh, he's out of prison by now then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
recently.
This was 94, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So May was charged with child abuse, abduction, and accessory to rape, and a shit ton of other crimes, and sentenced to life in prison. After swearing she knew nothing about the murders or the abuse.
His wife?
Yeah, like publicly. So.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know. I mean, we lived in this huge mobile home with 11 of us. I never saw him lay a hand on anyone.
Yeah, and they were like, "Oh, did you like partake in this?" And she'd be like, "No, nope. I didn't know that he wanted to murder."
Yep.
So Charles was shown a video of her denying everything when she was being let out of court, like to the press, and he said that that he'd never seen that footage before.
Yeah.
He said he was just
blown away. You
could tell he was really near crying.
Mm-hmm.
And you just could see that like break in his brain happen a little.
Yeah.
And so he said he was, the footage left him speechless, and he will take it with him for the rest of his life, because he kept saying in the interview, like, my mom was a broken woman, and like if it wasn't for this, there's no way that she would have let it happen. Yeah. And I truly don't think that if she would have known that this is where it was going to go, she would have stopped it. And then she literally was like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, what do you mean you don't know?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could tell it really changed his opinion of his mother. So that was really sad.
For sure.
So watch the documentary, guys. It's great.
Yeah, on top of, in this otherwise cheery story, that part's really sad.
It's just sad because it's fine. I have bad anxiety. My poor hangnails. So anyway.
That'll come through nicely on a podcast.
Yeah, won't it? He turned out okay and has a family and is like happy and stuff.
Willie?
And so, yeah. And
Charlie.
Charlie.
Okay, yeah.
It makes you.
So Charlie never did any time because he wasn't like in.
He was a witness, and he literally had no qualms being like, I almost killed a man, and I truly, because of the fear out of my father, would have done it.
Yeah, like if his oldest brother would answer the door,
and that deputy, way back when they had the standoff.
Oh, yep.
And he has no qualms talking about it. Anyway, Eddie's first trial was for the conspiracy of murder, which left him with 15 years in prison. And then the murder trial started. After only 3 hours of deliberation, the jury came back with the death sentence on November 2nd, 1994. The clincher was the librarian Gail Novak's testimony, because she was a third party. Outsider. Yes. Yeah. But
But wait, there's more.
There is more. In 1997, Eddie's verdict was overturned on appeal on the grounds of prior bad acts evidence, like what was going on in like the child abuse. His lawyers successfully argued that that evidence shouldn't have been allowed in the court trials due to the inflammatory nature of the evidence. Make sense?
Okay.
They were like, we can't have this. This is going to sway the jury. So their argument is that it swayed the jury.
Okay.
All of the extra evidence outside of the direct murder trials. Which is stupid. It's a horrible way. I can't believe that they won with that, because I feel like all of that is relevant. Kind of got to paint the whole picture. Yeah. To make you understand why, like, it's kind of like what they had to do with...
It's the context of why he would plan the murder, like all that stuff.
Yeah, it's just like the Manson trials. You have to have all of this stuff that leads you up to being like, because he technically never murdered anybody.
No,
he thought he did, but he never, like in a fight like earlier on, but he never directly murdered anybody. But he had done to these people what Eddie had done to his family, and so you have to have that in order to prove the point.
Yep.
I just kept rambling over you, and I'm very sorry.
No, you're fine. That's actually the secondary. That's the subtitle of this podcast.
Just rambling
over me.
I'm so sorry.
No,
I just have to get it all out or I'll lose my train of thought.
No, you're fine.
And I'm just so mad about it.
Yeah.
So
I get that.
In 1997, it was overturned by that stupid argument that made no sense.
Yep.
So there's a new trial that was ordered, and in his defense, a psychiatrist testified that Eddie, quote, had a diminished level of self-control due to a dysfunction in his prefrontal cortex.
Okay.
This line of defense was rejected by the court.
Okay.
Because they were like, no.
Sustained.
Yeah. They were like, look at all of this planning beforehand. He wouldn't have had literally years of planning.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's not his problem. He doesn't have an impulse control issue.
Yeah. It wasn't like snapped or whatever.
No.
Any of those cases.
It wasn't a crime of passion.
No.
And this led to this stupid motherfucker being found guilty again.
Mm-hmm.
And he was sentenced to death again.
Okay.
In November of 1998. So he just wasted everybody's time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which state was this in? Ohio or Florida?
Florida.
Okay.
Yeah, because the murders happened in Florida.
And do they have the death penalty there?
Yes, they do.
Okay. I assumed if he got sentenced to death, they do.
Yeah. I think there was an earlier podcast episode that we did where somebody was sentenced to death in Florida. The guy, the
van guy?
Yes.
Did he end up in Florida?
Yeah. He wound up killing somebody down in Florida because he killed a couple. He killed one chick in one state, a couple in a different state.
Don't
the
ask
national
me what
park.
The name of that one is.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway.
That one was insane.
Yes.
Anyway, if y'all are bored, go back and listen to that one.
Well, most people that got to this point have been back there.
That's true. So when the second sentence was handed down, Eddie simply told his lawyer, "That's life." Eddie's own lawyer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ho hum.
Yeah. Suppose. I guess that's what's supposed to happen.
I had a good run terrorizing my family.
So Eddie's own lawyer later says about the Sextons that they are, quote, the most dysfunctional family in America.
I think that's probably accurate.
Yeah. So unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you feel about the death penalty, both Estella May and Eddie Sexton died while in prison of natural causes.
Okay. Before the death penalty?
Yes. So May died in October of 2017 at age 70 after 22 years in prison, and Eddie died in his sleep of natural causes in December of 2010.
Okay.
Yep.
It's kind of anticlimactic.
Yeah.
He just died in his sleep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So Charles carries all the hatred imaginable for his father.
Understandable.
Yep. But has successfully managed to overcome suicidal ideation after a failed attempt where the gun did not go off, and he started his own healthy, happy family.
Good.
He kept trying to figure out in the documentary that I watched, he was musing.
So Pixie's still alive.
Yes.
And out of prison.
Yeah.
And
I don't know what she's doing or where she's going. So all of them are out of
prison that are still alive, you'd think, at this point. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because it was just the other two, the two oldest kids. I couldn't find anything about what Pixie was up to.
That's
Hopefully
fine.
she's getting some psychiatric
I don't need
care.
to where are they now.
Yeah. And then Joel and Skipper were buried together in the same casket back in Ohio, near Joel's family.
Okay. I guess that's somewhat...
About as happy as an ending as you could possibly get.
Yeah,
out
it's
of
not
this
exactly a fairy tale by any stretch.
No.
But
yeah. So, because even though Skipper wasn't his son,
he still
raised him,
Yeah.
and he still thought he was his own, and he took care of those other two kids like they were his own too.
Knowing they weren't, yeah.
Yeah, he's a nice guy.
Yep.
So, I'm sure it probably wrecked his fucking world though, because not only is he finding out his kids is his father-in-law's, he's also finding out that the other two...
his wife only?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that part.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then you put two and two together and go, oh, if that one's not mine, then the other two are probably his too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, how often have those two... Oh. Yeah. All the horrible lights are going off.
Yeah, that would be horrifying.
Yeah.
At that point, I think you would just risk... God, he has guns, though. It's not even like you could be like, I'm just going to sprint off into the wilderness.
Yeah.
Like, he's got guns.
Well, when you're isolated, that's the whole point.
That's true. So anyway, sources.
Yep.
Wikipedia. Just
Naturally.
for like a broad overview, because this was so
Timeline.
much.
Sometimes Wikipedia is good for organization of timelines.
And in the Tampa Bay Times article, Sexton Family Horrors Recalled by Sue Carlton from 1994. The Cinemaholic.com, Where's Charles and Willie Sexton Now? Evil Lives Here, Season 4, Episode 4. It was an interview with Charles.
Okay.
And then Evil Kin, Season 3, Episode 10, House of Secrets. And then Murderpedia.
Okay. All the sources. That's a two-parter, as they do.
Yep. And she was 8 pages long.
Yep. We're here for it.
Single-spaced, half-inch margins, guys.
That's how we got to episode 101, you know?
Yep. How you feeling after all that?
That was... I feel like I need to lay down.
Yeah. I told you I told you. I warned you when you brought this up as an idea.
Can I be honest? Less people died than I thought were going to.
Yeah, it's just how they died. And the fact that it's literally everything.
I was expecting a family annihilator almost. Like I thought he would go to a point, snap.
I thought he was a family annihilator, and that's why I started trying to find him, because the only thing I remembered is them finding multiple bodies in the peat. Yeah, because I remember seeing the pictures. So I thought he was a family annihilator, but yeah, it was just
two. But you kind of foreshadowed. I expected like 6 out of the 11 dead, and him being the one,
literally like in one go. No, he was almost, by some people's standards, a serial killer.
So, but my expectations were set so low. This actually kind of almost felt like a happy ending. So,
oh, good.
Yeah. Yep.
You're like, that wasn't as bad as what I thought it was going to be.
It was very tolerable, we'll say. Yes.
Yeah. It's the overload of every crime, the density of the crimes, that's the really unbearable part.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's definitely.
It wasn't like they were rich and had a great life, and then he lost his job and snapped and killed his family.
Yeah, in their $400,000 home in Colorado.
Yeah, like, no, it's just the whole encompassing, terrible, lifelong dread of this entire story that's just hard.
Yeah, in the way he just like ruined the whole, like, every aspect of the family.
Yes, every single one of those children for years, decades. So yeah, it's a very sad, depressing case. So
thanks for listening.
Yeah, if you've made it this far,
congrats, I guess. If you made it to episode 101, congrats.
Yes.
We didn't think we'd get here, so look at us go.
No, we slowed down a little bit, but now I feel like doing one slightly longer episode, you get better content. So
a little deeper dive.
Yeah.
Which was the intent.
Yeah. If your dive is too shallow, it's not good. You're gonna break your neck. That's why it says no diving in the shallow pools.
What? No.
Okay. All right.
Once again, your metaphors, excellent.
Thank you.
Once you get off
flawless execution.
Once you get off the script, the metaphors. Anyway,
my metaphors always suck, though.
Yeah.
They've always.
No, they're not that bad.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about your drop cord.
That's not a drop cord. It's not a metaphor. That's just weird words
all
you
of my
use.
Colloquialisms are odd. It's fine.
See, there you go.
Not as bad as yours.
Anyway, just embrace them.
I suppose.
All right. You good?
Yeah, I guess.
We'll talk about this later. That's what you said about.
We'll address this trauma later.
Yeah. All right. Shameless plug. Follow us on TikTok.
We appreciate the hell out of you guys.
Watch out on Facebook for anyway. You guys
whatever.
You guys know how to do this shit.
You guys know how to use social
media. Thanks to our patrons. You guys are awesome.
Yes.
I need to write that thing. All right. Anyway.
What thing? Oh, your Patreon.
Yeah, Patreon episodes halfway through.
You'd be starting a lot earlier than you normally do.
Normally halfway through the month I start brainstorming, and then on the 20th to 24th I start researching, and then the 28th I write it, and we record the 29th to 30th.
Wow.
That's how I work.
Yeah, you'd never be able to do a weekly podcast.
Fuck no. We do a weekly podcast because you can write a paper a week, no problem. I cannot write a paper a week, no problem. I could talk for an hour a week. It wouldn't have any research behind it.
That's all right.
It would just be nonsense.
That sounds like a great way to get slapped with the slander.
Right? And then a lot of those podcasts fizzle pretty quickly. So
they do.
This at least has somewhat direction.
Yes.
A
even
broad
if it's
direction.
Horrible.
Yeah. Our direction's intentionally broad. It means next week you don't have to talk about a murderer again unless you want to.
I will talk about a death, though.
Well, if we say terrible,
an old death.
There's almost always deaths in the terrible things.
Yeah.
Unless you do like bell-bottom jeans, since we've done mullets already.
Ugh.
Anyway, thanks for listening.
There will be a death. It will be
I'm about to sneeze. Can we wrap this up?
Yes, we can.
All right, awesome. Thanks
my
for
arm
listening.
Hurts. Bye.
Goodbye.
Oof, that was terrible. Thanks for listening to our terrible podcast. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or wherever you like to listen. Feel free to follow us on Twitter at TMSTpod.
And if you'd like to support the show, you can find us on Patreon at Tell Me Something Terrible.